broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
All right. How's everybody doing? Happy Wednesday. If you guys can hear me loud and clear, let me know. It should be live on GoTo on this screen, and then I've got my phone set up over here. We should be live on YouTube as well. So if we can just do a real quick systems check, we'll get kicked off today. Doing the setup on YouTube a little different than I did yesterday, last week. Hopefully that works well. Let's take a look. Let's just make sure that this is coming up. And for those of you guys on the GoTo webinar, if you guys would just go ahead and drop me a comment in there, that would be great. All right, fantastic, good stuff. Welcome Derek, welcome John, welcome, loud and clear. All right, fantastic, good stuff. And like normal, we got a big long delay with YouTube, so that's all right. We'll wait for it, no problem. Today, I got a bunch of questions from y'all. So it looks like last Wednesday when I said that I'd be running the AMA and I pull some people on and do some coaching. After the webinar, actually, we got flooded with a ton of questions. So that's good. Got a bunch of questions for today. Go ahead and turn on GoToWebinar and the camera here. So give me a 1 in the chat real quick, if you would, John, Derek, and everybody else on GoTo. John Solomon, John W, Karen, Philip, Rodney. What's up, Rodney? Thomas Wilson, Thomas Harper. All right, fantastic. So you guys can see me and hear me now. All right, great, good stuff. So real quick reminder, if you are looking for me to answer your question here live, you're gonna go to digitaltriggers.io/AMA, and I'll put that link in the chat for you guys. You're gonna register for the AMA, and then on the thank you page, there's a link for you to go fill out the Google form, which is where I take all the questions. So I'd like to just put that in the chat real quick on YouTube and on GoTo. Good stuff. Drop that in both of these. All right. Real quick, Yu says Joe is an emotional faggot. Yeah, I don't know that that's real nice. Probably gonna have to block you, right? Gotta love people some days. Put user in a timeout. I don't know what that means. All right, guys, so I got a ton of questions here in the AMA, and we're gonna hit these. Derek Drummond was asking about the June core update. And frankly, there's been lots of speculations out so far, but I'd love to hear from you, Derek, what you've seen so far. To be frank, I haven't seen a whole lot of movement on my end. So for me, I think it's a little early to speculate personally. I don't have that much data on it yet. All right, so I'm going to hit the AMA questions from the survey and from the Google form, and we'll go ahead and get started here today. All right, great. So let's see. This question comes from Mac, and excuse me, guys, if I'm squinting. Is there a difference between doing SEO for getting into 3-pack listing under the maps and regular organic SEO, or are they together or are they separate? So really, if you're trying to rank locally for organic and you're trying to rank in maps, so those two separate processes are they the same thing? At the end of the day, for me, they're the same thing. And they're the same thing because the thing that you do to rank really well And let me just pull up my video just to make sure I'm writing and you guys can see it. The thing at the end of the day that helps you rank inside of Google Maps, for example, is the on-page, well, let's not call it on-page, just so there's no confusion, is the, let's call it the GMB, Google My Business optimization. And folks, at the end of the day, this is just making sure that all of your pictures are filled out, you got all your categories in there, you got as many images as you can, right? You've got good descriptions, right? Like you have done everything that you can inside of that account, right? You're dropping in Google My Business posts on there. You're doing everything in there that you can. Okay, so that's a great start, right? But then after that, really everything else is going to help your organic SEO as well. So this is the only thing that's really specific to Maps only. Okay, and this is going to take you like maybe an hour or two to really get down, right? So 1 to 2 hours. And then the rest of the stuff that you do to rank inside of Google Maps has double duty, or it does double duty, right? So it's not only helping you guys rank in Maps, but it's helping you guys rank organically as well. So for me, the process is really the same. Okay, the process is really the same. So then you do like citations. And even if you're not a local business, I would still be doing citations. Why? Because these are very high authoritative, very high domain authority or trust rank or whatever word you want to use, right? These are very high authority listings, right? These are very easy to get backlinks from. Back in the day, like years and years ago, you would get a lot of links and a lot of link value, right, from high authoritative websites that were all like directories. Those directories like BOTW and business.com and Joe Ant and so many of the other directories are really gone these days, right? Like they have no authority in Google's eyes. But these local citations and local directories, they still have lots of value in Google's eyes. They still have high domain authority, in my opinion. So I'm going to go build citations whether or not I have a local website or it's a national website. And what I mean by that is even if I want to rank an e-commerce site and I want to rank it nationwide or I want to rank it worldwide, I'm still going to go get citations. Okay, and to take it further, I'm still going to set up a Google My Business and I'm going to optimize the Google My Business. So the reason that I'm going to do this, right? The reason that I'm going to do the Google My Business optimization for an e-com site is because I want this to pop up when somebody does a search for my brand, right? So for e-com, optimizing a GMB can be a great way to control your reputation. Okay, I'm going to do citations because citations for an e-com site or a nationwide site, right, are very good low-hanging fruit in terms of backlinks. Like you can't get a better return anywhere. To get a lot of high domain authority links for as cheap as citations are, like good luck, right? So for me, they're really the same. Okay, and no matter if I'm doing a website that's trying to rank in Maps or we're not trying to rank in Maps, I'm still going to do the GMB optimization. I'm still going to do citations as well. And those are the two big things in terms of ranking inside of Google Maps. And ranking a GMB for your business name, right, with the knowledge panel. And so when you do a search for the brand, it comes up on the right or it comes in kind of a map pack. You know, there's different variations of how it shows inside of Google. But no matter what, I'm going to handle both of these. Okay, and I'm going to do both of these. So really at the end of the day, for me, the process is the same. Okay, so Mark, this was a really good question. For me, at the end of the day, I'm going to do this all the time. Okay, so for me, it's the same process to answer your question. So I hope that makes sense. So today's date is June 5th. So guys, when I answer a question, I always put in here that I answer it so I can keep track of which ones are answered and which ones aren't. Let's go ahead and mark that one as complete. What's up, Frankie? Good to see you, good to see you. All right, so next question is, what do you think about this prospecting method or this way of getting local clients? So you do AdWords, for web design related keywords, which is super cheap to leverage and get lots of leads. And then you use that and then you upsell them SEO. So, I mean, potentially, right? That could be a good win. For me personally, I don't want to be in the web design business, in the web design game. Here's the thing, like if you got a team built out, you understand how to solve prospects' wants and needs with website design, and this is in fact working for you, like go for it, right? That could be a great way to bring in a lot of clients, right? And then you can upsell them into SEO. And it's not a flawed concept. And what I mean by that is I've met many people that have built businesses based upon getting web design clients and getting lots of them, right? And then essentially they're making their money on the back end with marketing services. So when everybody's trying to compete with them website for website, nobody can touch them. And the reason is because they have a large back end in terms of average customer value. So if that's right for your team and for your setup, Mark, then great, right? Go for it. I'll tell you my opinion and why I wouldn't do it. And I don't want to tell you not to do it, right? Just my own personal opinion with websites. So websites are very subjective, right? Everybody's got an opinion on what looks good, right? Like when you're looking at buying a car, right? Like I may like my car, the Corvette Z06, right? And somebody else may not like it and they want a Porsche Panamera, right? And there's no right or wrong answer. Somebody might want an electric car, right? They might want a Tesla with the ludicrous mode, and there's no right or wrong answer. And the reason that I bring this up is that's how I feel about websites, right? Everybody's got an opinion. And so for me, it's very subjective, right? And so you could do a great job. You could do what you think is a great job. Your team could do what they think is a great job. And your prospect at the end of the day could be like, nah, I don't like that. So for me, and don't get me wrong, I started out doing website design, doing website development, but I moved away from it. And one, because it was subjective, and two, because I wanted my business to be based upon recurring revenue. So in website design and development, for me, it was feast or famine mode, like all the time, and there was no in between. So you could fix that, obviously, like you said, if you're getting them to come in and you got a good service, your team understands how to fulfill, they're happy coming out the other end, right? And they love you, right? Then you're able to sell them into marketing services. It can make a lot of sense. And I've met people that have done really well with that and scaled huge with it. For me, I just wouldn't do that personally. All right. All right, great. So next question comes from one of our mastermind students, or it's got to be a mastermind student for them to know some of this kind of inside track information. So usually on an AMA, I wouldn't answer this type of question. And the reason I wouldn't is because this is like really product specific. Somebody went through the training, right, inside of a paid product or mastermind and then had a question. But this question is broad enough that I think each and every one of you guys will get a ton of value out of it. And maybe, just maybe, we'll give you guys a slight understanding of kind of some of the value that we pack inside of the mastermind. So let's see. So the question comes from KG. And KG says, what's your recommendation on the right way to set up incoming calls from voice drops to Jill's office for them to then qualify the lead and do a warm transfer or schedule appointment with a sales rep to close the deal? All right. So there's a lot in that in that question, and I'm going to unpack it a little bit, take you guys kind of step by step through the question so that you guys can see what's happening. So in my last agency that I built and sold, and that was a pay-per-call agency from zero to just under $1 million a year in annual recurring revenue, so just over $83,000 a month recurring, almost $84,000 a month recurring. One of the ways that we did prospecting was with voice drops. all right? And what I mean by voice drops specifically, and there's multiple kinds, is ringless voicemails. And again, ringless for me is the key in that sentence. So you can just do like voice broadcasts where the phone actually rings, right? And then you can do what's called ringless voicemails or voice drops, I would call them. And that's a significant piece of information right there. There's two distinctions. When you're doing voice drops, they skip ever ringing, and then they just go to voicemail. You play the message that you want to play on the voicemail, and then it shows up that they have a voicemail. So first and foremost, thing number one, let's just see where I'm writing here. So thing number one is we always want to do ringless. Okay, and unless you're training. Okay, if you're training, it can be a great training activity to do to leave voice drops or voice broadcasts that where the phone actually rings. And the reason that it can be a good training activity is it can incur a lot of phone calls. Okay, we've ran these sessions and we've done voice drops and we've done them in training groups where we've had 20, 30 people here in South Florida answering the calls after we've done the voice drop. And we've literally been able to bring in 500, 600, 1,000 inbound calls in one day using voice drops, right? And when we're doing training exercises like this specifically, a lot of times, okay, we would not do ringless. And the reason is we want to train people as fast as possible. So any objection that they could get hit with for prospecting, right, and doing these sales appointments, we want them to get those, right? We want to take them as fast as possible from where they're at now to a successful sales rep, right? And we know what it's going to take to get there, and it's volume. So the way that we get volume is by doing a lot of voice drops, okay? So when you do this and you're not in a training environment, though, I suggest ringless. And the reason that I suggest the ringless ones, which are typically called voice drops, is because somebody will have had to have listened to your message, in theory, at least, to call you back, versus just having a missed call and then just calling you up, and then you're like, hello, hi, and they're like, yeah, I just missed a call from you. When you do voice drops, you're gonna have a lot of people that never listen to your message, and so they have no idea what it is that you're talking about or what it is that you do or how you can help them. They never heard your pitch. If they never heard your pitch, you're gonna have to give it a lot on the fly. So it can be a great training activity, okay, but long term, I would suggest ringless. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so we're dropping a ringless voicemail. So in this ringless voicemail, okay, what I like to do with these is I like to keep them short. Okay, so we want it to be short. We want it to seem like not unprofessional, but almost not scripted. I'm just gonna write not scripted here. And so folks, like, to make it appear not scripted, I actually script the shit out of it. And what I mean by that is I will have an I will have an so that it appears very natural. Okay? I don't want to sound like a telemarketer in my ringless voicemail. And then in terms of the angle and what we say is we want to copy what's already worked in our angles and in our marketing. We just want to copy into ringless voicemail. So when I suggest people do ringless voicemail, they've already prospected one-to-one, right? They've had conversations right in front of people. They've seen what works and what doesn't, or they've done it right on GoToMeeting or one of the other platforms, right? And they've had real conversations and consults. So they know the trigger points. They know what gets people excited. They know how many jobs people want. They know how much income that's going to be. They know where they're stuck and where they're going, right? So they know these copy angles. They know, what to say in these, okay? Or they've ran cold email. Really weird. I just got a phone call and I was on YouTube live at the same time. So I'm wondering if that is gonna screw things up or not. So when we do these, and I'll give you guys a little hint at this, when we do these, the angle is really simple. Like the angle is like the traditional, like, could you use 5 to 10 new patients, customers, jobs, right? Whatever the lingo is for the niche per, and then week or month. And folks, this is going to differentiate, right? Like for a cosmetic surgeon, they may only need 5 a month and they would be like slam packed, okay? For like an HVAC company, right? An AC repair company, they might be looking for an additional 5 to 10 a day. Okay, so you're gonna have to change out the timeline, and then you're gonna have to change out what they call their customers. Okay, so this is all about the ringless voicemails. This is step number 1. This is the first thing that we do. Okay, so then step number 2 is like, folks, this works really good. Again, this works so good that it can actually be a problem. So it works so good in terms of getting calls back from prospects that it can actually be a problem. Meaning like these campaigns, you're gonna be dropping 100 voicemails, 200 voicemails, 1,000 voicemails. And so what's gonna happen is you're gonna get a lot of calls all back at once. Okay, it's like, oh, boom, it just dropped. Okay, great, we're getting a bunch of calls back. So understand when you do this that you're gonna wanna play with it, you're gonna wanna test it, you're gonna wanna go slow, okay? But then ultimately, the way that I got leverage in this and we really scaled this is we used an answering service. Okay, so we figured out the messaging, we figured out how to get the calls, we figured out, you know, once we answer the phone, what do we have to say in order to get a set appointment? Okay, so really, what we're trying to do here is we're trying to qualify, okay? We're trying to make sure that they read or listened to our message. And then we're trying to book an appointment. Okay? So here, it's like, I guess one of the things to note here is that this was always me doing this ringless voicemail. So be like, hey, it's Joe. I just had a quick question for you, right? And then I'd hit this. Could you use another 5 to 10 new potential jobs, customers, whatever, per week, per month, right? If so, let me know. I think we could definitely help you. My number is 561-310-5928. Again, it's Joe, and it's 561-310-5928. I'll talk to you soon, right? Like that would be like quite literally my recording, right? So then the person answering obviously is not me long-term. It's not Joe. Okay, so when they answer the call, there's gotta be a bridge, right? Because if not, somebody's just gonna go, I thought this was Joe's phone number, right? Where's Joe? I wanted to talk to Joe, okay? So what we do, if you're not answering these, but you're the one here, right? And that's fine, you just gotta address it. Okay, is there's got to be a bridge. So the way that we did this is we'd answer and be like, hey, hi, this is Michelle. Joe's on the other line right now. How can I help you? Okay, so that was the bridge, right? We're giving a reason. Okay, we're giving a reason. And so then what would happen in the conversation is they'd be like, yeah, I just heard Joe's message. So then we figured out that we gave them the bridge. We found out that they did listen to our message. And then we would qualify. Okay, great. That sounds fantastic. So you got Joe's message. What made you the most interested in what Joe had to say? And they're all going to be like, well, we need more jobs right now. Okay, so they're telling you why they should be talking with Joe or why they're interested in the service, right? And then we're like, okay, great. Yeah, so you're interested in, and then we just repeat whatever it is that they tell us. So you're really interested in another 3 to 4 appointments a week. They're like, yep, 100%. So then what we do is we qualify. So in the qualify, what we do is we just have some base criteria that we use to ensure that it's going to be a good prospect, okay? So for example, we could have in there like, what's their annual recurring revenue? Okay, we could have in there, what are they spending right now in terms of advertising, or where are they advertising? How many trucks do they have? How many doctors do they have? How many crews do they have? Like things like that, indicators if it's the right prospect or not. Okay, and depending on who it is that you're trying to service, depending on your price points, you're gonna have different qualifications. Okay, So for us, for example, we would want to be working with people that it was more than just an owner-operator. It was more than just a one-man band. We'd want to work with people that had 2 or 3 trucks on the road, okay? If they were like in the service business, if they're an AC or plumbing company. If they were a roofing company, we'd want to make sure, for example, that they had more than one crew. If they don't have more than one crew, right, and we send them a bunch of jobs and that crew gets backed up, we know from experience, right, that they're going to end up coming back to us and being like, slow down, pump the brakes, right? So we don't want that. Okay, we know if they have multiple crews, if they have 2 to 3 trucks, right, we know what kind of revenue they should be doing as well. Okay, so we qualify, and then we book the appointment. So I'm just going to say book, okay? So when we book the appointment, in the last step here, we do a couple of things to ensure that we have what's called a quality set, right? And that's when we set an appointment. When we book an appointment, we call that a set internally, like a consult set, a strategy session set. And we want to do this with quality. So that's going to mean that we're able to get prospects to show up at a much higher rate than people that aren't setting with quality. And so when it comes to setting with quality, we want to make sure, for example, that they aren't going to be out on the road, right? That they're going to be in front of a computer and that they can open up GoToMeeting or whatever platform we're using, Zoom, for example, to view the presentation, right? Okay, because trust me when I say, if you call somebody for an appointment and they're out on a roof or they're at an AC repair job, they're not going to be paying attention, right? And the chances of you closing a deal is going to be slim to none. Okay, so we got to make sure that they're going to be available, that they're going to be in front of their computer. Okay, then as well, okay, we get their best email and we get their best phone number. And the reason that we do that is so that we can send them reminders to both. Okay, and just by adding on the phone number there and sending out the reminders, we've increased in the past the show up rate by 10, 15, even 20%, okay, to these strategy sessions or these consult sessions. So you got to make sure that you get the phone number. And then the last thing that we do is we talk up and we set expectations for what's going to happen on that meeting. Okay, so we are, number one, making sure that we set the authority. The person that you're going to speak with is freaking amazing, and here is why, right? And we do this so that they're anticipating the meeting, they're excited for the meeting, right? They want to make sure that they attend the meeting. And then second, we talk to them about what we're going to cover in that meeting. Okay, so we set the agenda, and it's a pre-sell. Okay, so think of it as a pre-sell. So the prospect is thinking about this for the next 24 or 48 hours, whatever we've told them while we're setting this consult. Okay, so think of this as an opportunity to pre-sell the prospect before your sales guy or before you ever get on the phone with the prospect. Okay. Good stuff. Was that good? So let's read this question by KG just to make sure that we solve this. I didn't leave anything out. We'll keep getting phone calls on YouTube Live. So KG says, what is the right way? KG, what is the right, or what's your recommendation on the right way to set up incoming calls via voice drops to Jill's office for them to then qualify the lead and do a warm transfer or schedule appointment? So again, we're going to have them schedule an appointment. We're going to have the answering service, which we do recommend. Jill's office is a great answering service for this. Actually schedule the appointment. And in the past, what we've used, for example, is we've used an online calendar booking platform like Calendly. Okay, so what we do is we just give Jill's office or the answering service access to that calendar, right, so that they can book an appointment. So I hope that helps, KG. I don't like doing a warm transfer, right? I like booking onto a calendar. Okay. One last tip: when you're booking onto a calendar, never book over 72 hours in advance. Okay, and we've tested this over and over and over again. If your time for this consult or for this strategy session is more than 72 hours away from right now, the chances of them showing for this strategy session, for this consult, for this demo, whatever it is that you want to call it, goes down significantly. Okay, so never book out for more than 72 hours. And if I were you, I would be trying to book out from like 24 hours and less from now. Okay. All right, KG, hope that helps, brother. Let's see. What else we got here? See your guys' content. Yeah, too far never works. Frankie says you've been on fire the last 4 weeks. Thank you, brother. Not good, great. Cool. So Eric says, what's the name of your course when we can learn your voice jobs training? So guys, at the moment, really the only two quote unquote courses that you can get from me is first and foremost, Agency Growth Vortex. That is our remarketing, retargeting, PPC course, so to speak, with Done For You and all the crazy stuff inside of it. And then really the mastermind. Those are really the only two places that I have a course or training out right now. And so Eric, that would be like all that sales training and stuff would be in the mastermind. Hope that makes sense. All right, fantastic, good stuff. All right, so next question comes from Will. So Will says, when using SynWire to syndicate our content to our created accounts, does it make sense to also syndicate like content as to mask the footprint we're leaving behind that our content is the only one that's being published? So let me rephrase that question to you. So on your Facebook account, how often do you share something else, right? Is it a requirement on your Facebook to share other people's stuff? So I'd like you to think about that question and rephrase that question to yourself. Like, is it normal for people not to share other people's stuff just to like it and only post their own things? Yeah. Do lots of people share other things? Yes. So there's that. There is really no right or wrong way to answer your question. That's why I rephrased it, just to kind of give you a perspective shift, hopefully. But at the same token, understand that that's not quite a fair assessment, so to speak, at the same time. What I mean by that is quite a few of the networks within SynWire, probably I would say maybe a fifth or a sixth of them, I don't know, something, maybe let's call it like 10 of the networks are a freemium type of model. And what I mean by that is you can get started for free, but it's limited, right? So once you post X amount of times, right, then you got to upgrade to paid. So with what we just talked about, I think it's important to think about if your strategy is going to be, you post one time, then, for your site or for your own, property to rank, then you post 2 other times on stuff that's not promotional, so to speak. Understand that you're hitting whatever this freemium cap is before you move into paid. So I used to think that it was very important for my networks and my accounts within SynWire to have lots of non-promotional posts. So for me at the beginning, like really leveraging SynWire and content networks for link sources, so to speak, about 1 in 3 of my posts would be promotional in some sort. And what I mean by that is I'd be getting a link out of about 1 in 3. The rest of it was just about looking good. But my opinion on this has changed. Now, Like, if I was to do 3 posts, 3 out of 3 would be promotional. Why? Because I think at the end of the day, like that's what's natural, right? If I have if I have 2 posts that are non-promotional and they are about, blue widgets, and then I got a promotional post and it's about something completely different, like why does that even need to be there, right? Like why did I even do this? Like at the end of the day, folks, and I know that might be a little confusing, I'm not trying to seed my Cinewire networks and all my content places with a bunch of other non-promotional content. I think that is giving me and that's giving users more of a problem thinking that they need to do this versus just linking to what they want to and not trying to quote unquote hide. Like users definitely see, or networks definitely see users that are submitting lots of content and then they're going and manually reviewing the content. And if the content looks like shit, they're getting their account suspended. So push good content. Let's do this. Push good content. Right? Don't look like a spammer. Right? Like that should be the goal. Okay? When it comes to Cinewire, these 2 things are best practices. This is what's going to get you guys the best results. Right? Simple. I don't think, again, Will, that there's a need for you to link to a bunch of other content on other people's sites. Good stuff. All right, so let's see here. Next question. Let's see, Jerome is talking about last week. Jerome says, thanks for sharing your story and for sharing a lot of tips too. So he's talking about the AMA last week. By the way, are your Q&As recorded? Yes, obviously. Every Thursday they go up on the channel. Or if I do a YouTube live at the same time, like right here, right now, they're on YouTube right away. I'd like to know how you manage your time with details when it comes to your busy schedule. With details when it pertains to business and just an overall peak of family/hobbies/blocks, the real stuff. If it's 30 hours a week or 80, if it varies, if it's really fixed. Not any theory. What's your ideal week look like too? Show us the real stuff. I want to model a few people and you're one of them for sure. Hence why I've purchased everything from you. Okay, so peek inside some of the real stuff, not theory. All right, cool. Not a problem. So for me, I'll share with you guys like what my ideal week is like, and I'll be 100% honest. It's my ideal week. It doesn't happen every day. I try to be super disciplined with this. And sometimes things pop up, and I'll give you guys some examples of things pop up and how I handle them. And I'll tell you guys where I say no and kind of how I say no as well. So Jerome, good question, man. So as it sits, let's see. Trying to find the where the camera sees the screen and doesn't see the screen. So like here to, all right, to like here. All right, so let's say Monday, Tuesday, and this is gonna be sloppy, I'm sorry. Wednesday, Thursday. So I'm not gonna draw in Friday. And the reason is I am working really, really hard. Just stepped on my rechargeable batteries. I'm working really, really hard to take one day off per week. And I was thinking about it this morning, actually, and I think Friday is going to be the day. I actually wanted to do Monday, but that's not quite working. So what I've planned is basically Monday through Thursday. And so for me, I know, and you guys should know too, if you guys have been on these AMAs as of late. Last week we talked about like chunking things out in the calendar, and that you got to take care of the things that are most important to you. And those are the things that need to go in your calendar first. So at the end of the day, for me, let's see how far down this goes. All right, so for me, I have basically a 4 p.m. hard stop. Okay, 4 p.m. hard stop. So the only time that things go past 4 p.m., okay, is Wednesdays, potentially, on the AMA. Right, so this runs from 3 to 4 Eastern. Okay, and so my latest day typically, right, is Wednesday. So this is important to me because this is when I spend time with my family. So my kids just got out of school, both of them, Silas and Parker. So now it's even more important that I'm home, because when I get home, my wife's been with the kids all day long and needs a break, right? And I want to get in my family time. For me, at the end of the day, that is the most important thing. So in the morning is when I work out, and this changes a little bit. This is going to change a little bit with summer, but the most important thing is every morning is working out and the sauna, and then cryo. So working out, the sauna, infrared sauna, and then cryotherapy. So this happens on good weeks, right? I'm sharing with you guys the good weeks. This happens every single day, right? And for me, it's uber important that the working out and the sauna and the cryo happens. And the reason that it's so important is because this sets up my day. Okay, this is the most important to my mood and how I feel. If I work out, right? If I work out, I sat in the sauna, and I cryoed, I feel amazing. And one of the things to note in here is that during this time, this is also my education time. So for me, guys, I'm a lifelong learner. A lifelong learner. Okay? I am always in the mode of learning. I am always in the mode of investing in myself. And so my education time, my learning time happens as well during this same session. So while I'm working out, while I'm in the sauna, while I do cryo, during that block, that time block, is when I go through my education. And guys, this really ranges from like 90 minutes to 120 minutes, depending on what I have going on. Okay, I can crunch it down to 90, but it can go up to 2 hours. And so typically, this happens in the morning. During school, when my kids were at school, I needed to be back and showered, and I like to take my kids to school. It's one of the things that like I've made the commitment, so to speak, to do, at least my oldest. And so this had to be done by like 7:30. And so I would go work out at 5, for example, to be back in time. Okay, so I could do everything in 2 hours, right? And then I'd be back home. So this is the most important time for me throughout the entire day. So then filling out the rest of the blocks in the calendar, so to speak. So Wednesday at 4, I have the AMA. I also have blocked off Wednesdays to be like my training day. So AMA is here. For those of you guys inside of the Agency Growth Vortex Pro membership, this is also right now where we have our weekly calls. Okay? So I do a call right now, and these are just starting up here, but the AGV Pro calls happen. I think they happen, 12 to 1 p.m. is basically when these happen. Okay? And then Tuesdays, from 2 to 4 or 2 to 3. And also Thursdays from 2 to 4 are always blocked out for promotions. So guys, at the end of the day, the thing that drives my info marketing training software companies, right, is promotions, primarily through joint venture partners, and internally my own list, aka you guys, and us running promos. So from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern is on Tuesday or Thursday, is where 90% of the time I run a promo. Okay, so if I'm gonna run a promo for the week, you can know it's gonna be like one of those 2 times typically. Then at 10:30, so let's actually start up a little bit further. So at 9 a.m. is when I'm in the office by, and here I do basically my forum check-in. So this is my one-on-one. I'm just gonna put forum check-in FCI. So this is my one-on-one with people inside of my mastermind. So inside of the mastermind, you get access to like quite literally hundreds of hours of trainings. Without a doubt, definitely some of the best content that I've ever done. And I mean, there's just like system and process after system and scripts and all that right in there. But because there's so much, and because we've gotten it requested so often, this is also the only place really that I do any scalable one-on-one sessions. So from 9 to 9:30 or 10 every day, I'm running these check-ins. And these check-ins are with the active members inside of the membership that are asking me for help. Joe, I did this. What do you think is the next step? I think the next step is this or that, right? And this is where right now I'm really doing the most of my coaching, at least on that kind of one-on-one spectrum. If you're running an agency business, this is probably where I would put the agency business right now. So then 10 a.m. To roughly 10:30, or let's just say from 10 to 11 a.m. Are my stand-up meetings. And these happen every day. And for me, guys, a stand-up meeting is me corralling the troops and me helping my troops and helping my team. Okay, so what did you do yesterday? What problems did you run into? What do you need help from me from or somebody else on the team from, right? And then what are your priorities for, today? And do you need anything? Is there anything inhibiting you or stopping you from doing that today? It's kind of the agenda or the outline that we follow, so to speak. And the goal is to really take 2 to 3 minutes just per person. And it helps everybody on the team really be organized for the day. And it also helps me have peace of mind that I know what's happening, right? It's my opportunity to reflect and give feedback for everybody too. Like, hey, I saw this one out yesterday. Do you think maybe we should do this instead? Or have you thought about this? And oftentimes they're like, yeah, Joe, we tested that last week. It didn't work as well, but that's why we're doing it this way. But it's my opportunity to be caught up with everybody else on the team and understand what's happening. So, trying to think of any other big blocks that you guys should know about. So, education, workout, sauna, cryo, forum check-in, stand-up meetings. Mondays we have a call. Mondays at 3. I think it's at 3 for agency growth vortex members on basic and pro members. And this is like ask me anything type of call, so to speak, as well as like new developments inside of the program that we run. Okay, so you guys can see that basically at the end of the day, really from like 12 to 2 here. You guys can see like I've mapped out my entire day, except for a couple time blocks, right? You guys can see that it's basically full. So these are the most important things that I do in my business to keep my business on track, to keep the business moving forward. And then basically, this has me deep in some type of creation at one to 2 times per day, right? I'll get an hour to 2 hour block, right, for me to go create something, for me to build something. How many of you guys would like me to take you guys through the exercise of how I figure out what to do in the gaps? How many of you guys would like me to take you through a quick exercise, right? Because you guys can see that like most of my day is already full. Most of my week is already full, right? Like my commitments have been made. My calendar is busy, right? So really the only thing that I have to think about on a daily basis is just executing what's on the calendar. But then there's a more practical thing that I have to go through all the time, and that's like what's going to get my priority. Please do. All right, good stuff. So that's the tricky thing, right? The prioritization is the tricky thing. Understand, guys, that this has already taken into account all the most important things in my life, right? Friday's gone, that's a family day, right? The morning is gone, and by the time I'm done with the gym, I'm able to wake my kids up and hang out with them for a little bit, right? See them in the morning, so I'm not just gone right away in the morning. I've always wanted to do that. I've always wanted to have some time there with my kids. And by 4, I'm out every day, and a lot of times by 3 o'clock, I'm out. And then obviously I have the whole day Friday off. So I've already taken into account my biggest priorities, right? Like the things that matter to me most in life, like my family, working out, my Wednesday AMAs with you guys, my promotions Tuesdays and Thursdays, my supporting webinars for Agency Growth Vortex, right? My time to check in and work, one-on-one with people inside of the mastermind. Like those are my big time commitments. Those are the big chunks. Those are the things that I've agreed to, and that are going to happen week in and week out. For you guys, if you're running a traditional agency business, so to speak, if I were you, I would block out time to check on fulfillment, right? I would block out working out. I would block out the days and the times that you're going to work, and figure out your schedule, right? What days are you going to have monthly meetings with clients? What days are you going to check in on fulfillment? And folks, at the end of the day, the rest of your schedule should really be blocks of consults or strategy sessions for you to sell other people, right? For you to bring people into your business. So the way that I decide priorities for everything else is really, folks, at the end of the day is really important. Understand at the end of the day, I say no to a lot of things now. And the reason that I say no is because I have to. I have to be disciplined, right? And I have to be crazy about my calendar. Very quickly, everything slides for the day, and I'm 10 minutes late to this, I'm 30 minutes late to this. By the end of the day, I'm 2 hours late, and now I'm at the office until 6, right? And that's not how my schedule rolls. That's not what I'm supposed to do, right? The most important thing in my life is my family, and now I'm late to see them. So, and to be with them and for that time. So, at the end of the day, everything that comes up now, most things I have to say no to. And frankly, at first, this makes you feel bad. But you got to understand that you have priorities. And if something is taking priority over your calendar that you have like laid out and put all this time and effort into, you're saying that one thing that just came up is more important than everything else that's in the calendar. Like that's that's a problem, right? Like, that's an issue. So for me, when things come up, there's a 90% chance that I'm saying no, unless it is life-threatening, product-threatening, it is a freaking emergency, right? If I can't take credit card payments, if my bank is giving me problems, right? Like, unless it is a huge fire, there's a 90% chance that I'm saying, no, I can't do it, and I'm just okay with it, right? I don't care what the repercussions are, right? And you guys, like, you have to have that discipline. But, so when things crop up and they just come out of nowhere, 9 times out of 10, I'm just saying no. Nope, sorry. Nope, sorry. But I still have gaps. I keep turning to look at the calendar I just erased. But I still have gaps in the calendar. So essentially what I'm doing is weekly or bi-monthly, I'm looking at my business, right? And I'm looking at my business as individual systems and processes, okay? And I'm looking at the health of those systems and processes, okay? I'm looking at KPIs, looking at outbound prospecting. I'm looking at how many strategy sessions are we doing. I'm looking at how many people just signed up for the webinar. What was our close rate on the last webinar, right? I'm looking at all the KPIs in our business, and I'm looking at the vital signs, okay? And those then are the things that I consider doing. When I find a problem, when I find something that has really low vital signs, when I find a problem that seems like the whole department is dead or the system's just not running or working, right? Those are then things I consider working on. Okay, so I essentially kind of look at all the pieces and all the systems from a very 500-foot view of them, like I'm looking down on them, right? And then I'm figuring out what are the potential things that I'm going to work on. Okay, and I'll just make a list of the potentials. Okay, so if support desk gets a questions or gets 10 questions stating that their membership email when somebody purchases is going to spam, right? And they don't know how to fix it, that's going to come up for me as a list of potential things that I'm going to look at for the week, right? When I look at, every week I'm doing this promotion and the conversion rate and the number of customers I'm getting just flatlined, that's going to be a list of potential things that I'm going to focus on. It'll be on that list, right? So I'm going to look at all the KPIs. When I see, for example, for support that, the average response time is like 2 hours. I'm like, nope, that's good. Like, that's great. Most people take 3, 4 days, 7 days, 10 days, right, to get back with people, right? Then I leave that. That's fine, right? That doesn't need to be improved. Okay, so I take kind of a high-level view of what's happening. But then once I have this list of potentials, I really want to take that list of potentials and I need to come up with a valuation right, of the impact that item or each of those items is going to have on my business. Because as a business owner, we have to freaking do everything, right? Like I just got an email and it's like, your merchant account hasn't passed its PCI compliance scan for this year. You're gonna get fined $250. Guys, I'm PCI compliant. I use a third-party shopping cart that thousands of other people use. It's PCI compliant, and I can take 6, 8, 10 hours and go through that process to get it PCI compliant, but what's the valuation of that task? I just told you guys, it's $250. Would I be better off working on this, or would I be better off focusing on my outbound email campaign? Just took a shit, right? And it's been bringing me 3 customer bookings a day for consults and strategy sessions, and now it's only doing one, which one is a bigger opportunity? Which one do you guys think I'm gonna focus on? Right, the answer is obvious, right, or it should be. Okay, just because at the end of the day, somebody says that you or your business need to do something doesn't mean that you have to do it now. Okay? Understand that everything has a valuation and everything has ramifications with it. That's fine. Understand what's at stake. Okay? So what I like to do is create a valuation of each opportunity. Okay? So essentially, I create the valuation, and I like to think about the valuation like this, all right? So out of a scale of 1 to 10, okay, how important is it? So how important is it? Next is, how important is it now? Okay, then flat out, guys, just what's the value of the problem or the opportunity, right? Because guys, that's how I think about issues, is really they're problems, right? But they're opportunities. If I fix them, what happens? I gave you guys the example of the PCI compliance. If I fix that, it's $250. Like, that's not a big problem. I should be focusing on bringing in a customer, right? That's gonna pay me $1,000, $2,000 a month, and I'm gonna take home 90% of that, right? I'd much rather focus on that than being PCI compliant. Okay, so how important is it, 1 to 10? How important is it that I do it now? What's the value? And then what happens if I don't do it? Right? What happens if I don't do it? And this one isn't a 1 to 10. This is just a place for me to write out an explanation. And by me actually going through each and every one of these things, I can take things like the PCI compliant, and it's like, this is a 10. How important is it that it happens now? 1. What's the value of this? $250, right? No value. That's a freaking 1. What happens if I don't do it? $250. And am I going to lose my merchant account? No, they're just going to keep billing me $250 a year. This problem that I once thought was hugely important, I should quite literally give no shits about. Okay? So this is how, right, I figure out what I'm going to focus on in my business. Okay, this is exactly how. Okay, essentially by, at the end of the day, just evaluating each of the tasks, and I use this 4-point system to really evaluate the tasks. Okay? The other thing that I do then, and that I would highly recommend, is I loosely use the Pomodoro effect, okay, or the Pomodoro method. And basically what that is for a set amount of time, you remain hyper-focused, only concentrating on the one thing that you're doing. Meaning, you get a sales call, it's not on your calendar, you ignore it, right? You get a call from your wife like I just did, and you're on a webinar, you ignore it. Sorry, honey. Right? Somebody in your team is asking you something and you're in the middle of another task, you ignore it. Right? Like, you only concentrate on that task. You don't let yourself get distracted. And typically my windows are 20 to 30 minutes long. So if I only have a 30-minute block to do something and then I got another commitment, I will quite literally collapse. You know, I won't just go 20 minutes like the Pomodoro method talks about. I'll go 30 minutes, right? Because I know that's all the time that I have. So that's why I say I loosely follow it. So then I take what's important, I figure out the gaps in my calendar, and I prioritize these. Okay, and then I hit the Pomodoro method timer. Let's go. 20 minutes, 30 minutes, max 40 minutes, depending on the task. I know some tasks, I know some activities that I can work on where I can get into a really, really good flow for 40 minutes, and some tasks that like I need a longer set of time in order for me to actually be able to get the task done. I know that if I only work on it for 20 minutes at a time, it's going to take me a lot longer. So for example, writing VSLs, writing cold emails, writing webinars, all those things they take me a long time, right? You guys might think that they just like pop out of my head like magic. They don't, right? Those take me 40-minute, hour blocks and multiples of those in a day for me to really nail that to the wall. So hope that was helpful. All right, great. So let's try to knock out here. It is the top of the hour. Let's try to knock out one more if we can. One more if we can. A busy calendar means a healthy bank account. As long as it's prioritized, right? All right, let's see if there's one more question. I don't see any of them that are quick that I can answer real quick. All right, here's one. Let me just read through it real quick. So, hey Joe, I just watched your video on backlinks, and they're talking specifically, Jonathan's talking about how I use mommy blogs and guest posts or sponsored posts to build backlinks for all types of businesses, from local businesses to e-com businesses. So he saw that video, and that video, guys, is on the YouTube channel. He says, great, but if I get multiple mommy blogs to post my content, can it be identical content, or do I have to spin it? What spinning service do you recommend? Thanks, Joe. So I wouldn't put the same piece of content on there. Here's the thing, like every mommy blog that I do business with, I'm building a relationship with. And for me, all the time, effort, and money is finding a mommy blog, prospecting to them, getting them to say yes to my pitch, coming up with a price, right? And all that stuff is very front loaded. Once I find that person, I want to keep leveraging that relationship over and over and over and over again for each and every website and opportunity and thing that I want to promote, right? So I'm not going to let some crappy, shitty piece of fucking content ruin the relationship and all the steps, all the 35 steps that I use to build up to get that prospect, right? So great question, but I would never give them spun content, because they could come back and be like, hey, I see you put an identical piece of content, right? Or this content is really shitty, right? I don't want to work with you anymore. I would never want that situation to happen. So when it comes to pitching guest posts and pitching mommy bloggers and sponsored posts, I never spin the content. Never. Like, could you take the same idea for a post and rewrite it? Yes, but I would never spin it. And I don't recommend any spinning services for guest posts and sponsored posts, because understand all the work that you've done leading up to just get that opportunity and get the person to say yes, and understand what you're losing if they say no, or if they don't like you anymore. So for example, it could cost me, $15 to find the perfect mommy blog that said yes and had a good site, and it could cost me, a month of time to do that, and putting up a piece of content on their site and seeing how they work. It could take a long time to get through all those steps, and then I want to bargain that relationship with a piece of crappy content. Like, personally, I would just never do that. So, hey, Jonathan, I hope that makes sense. I always use unique content, and for us, the vendors that we work with, and building that list of vendors that will work with us and that are good vendors is the most important thing that we can do. So I hope that makes sense. And guys, I appreciate you jumping on another weekly AMA with me. Again, if you guys have questions inside of the chat, you guys should be able to go to the link, digitaltriggers.io/AMA. Once you guys register for this weekly series, that'll get you registered for the webinar. On the thank you page, there's a place where you guys can ask a question. Bring your guys' questions. I love answering these. Obviously, guys, at the end of the day, I love doing this, or I wouldn't be doing this. First and foremost, number one, you guys see my busy calendar. I don't really have the time to do this, but I absolutely love hanging out with you guys. And the third but most obvious thing is that if I don't have questions, I obviously can't run the AMA. which means I can't add value to each and every one of you guys on this call, right? So please do your part. If you guys like this, you guys love the value, please go sign up, okay, to attend every week. And then ask a question, please, and abuse the question asking by all means. Ask me a ton of questions. It doesn't mean I'll answer every one, but it's better than the alternative of not having enough questions. So appreciate you guys being on here today. Have a freaking fantastic week. Make the best of it.